Welcome to the Influence Accelerator, the podcast for entrepreneurs, coaches, and content creators who are ready to scale their influence and income with impact. I'm Jennifer Fellin, and each week we'll uncover strategies, stories, and systems to help you grow online, build authority, and design a system and business that truly works for you. Get ready, let's dive in. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Influence Accelerator. I'm your host, Jennifer Fellin, and this is the place where we talk about building influence that actually lasts without the hustle, the burnout, and the hamster wheel of doing all the things just because someone outlined and told you to do so. Today's topic is one of my favorite topics because it's not about buying another tool. It's not about hiring a massive team, and it's definitely not about some complicated marketing hack. We're going to talk today about something much simpler and honestly much more powerful, which is habit loops. Now, inside any business, creating systems, creating sustainability is what helps a business thrive, especially if it's one that you're building from scratch. And having a habit loop, having a system in place is really, really powerful for this. Now, I can hear some of you saying, oh great, Jennifer, another podcast episode about habits, but hear me out. This is different. I'm not going to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m., drink celery juice or whatever green juice is on the market right now, meditate on your vision board under a full moon, unless, of course, that's your vibe. What I am going to show you is how small, repeatable habits, what I call micro habits, can completely change the way you create, the way you connect, and the way your audience experiences you. And that is important because connection is very, very important to having an audience. We're going to talk about how these habit loops actually form in your brain, how they shape your creative output, and how they completely transform your audience engagement. And most importantly, how to design loops that feel both authentic and not forced. I'll share with you some of my own routines, what works for me as a busy mom, an entrepreneur, a creator, plus frameworks from high performance research that backs this up. And don't worry, I've still got free resources for you along the way. If video is part of your plan, grab my YouTube Launch and Growth Blueprint. It's a step-by-step guide that will take you from your first upload all the way to your first 1,000 subscribers. If you want a broader jumpstart, download the Influencer Kickstarter Kit. And of course, if you're serious about scaling your work, make sure you join the waitlist for Inside the Influence, my upcoming program. All right, let's get started and dive in to this week's episode. So first things are first, right? What exactly is a habit loop? Now, one of the books that I've read and I'm reading again for a second time is James Clear's book, Atomic Habit. And it defines a habit as a cycle where the cycle is cue, routine, reward. Something triggers you, you follow through with an action, and then you get a payoff. And if you do it often enough, it becomes automatic, which justifies it sliding into being a habit. So let's make this real. Say every morning you open your laptop and the first thing you do is check Instagram or you check Pinterest or whatever platform you check. The cue is opening the laptop. The routine is scrolling through Instagram. And the reward is that quick hit of dopamine when you see things like comments, likes, hearts, or you see something that sparks an interest. And that is where you've just run a habit loop. Here's the good news. We can hijack the system and really make it work for us. And you can make it work inside your business by building them the right way. We can take those same cues and design better routines that give us better and stronger rewards. For example, instead of checking Instagram first thing, maybe you open your laptop, pull up your content planner in Notion, and review your top 3 priorities for the day. The cue is the same, opening your laptop, but the routine and the reward shift. Now, why does this matter for influence? Because consistency and presence build trust. If you can design micro habits that keep you creating, engaging, and showing up day after day, your audience feels it and they see it and they're able to start to trust you and rely on you and then connect with you. One of the big things about building an online business, building an audience, is consistently being present, showing up, and building content day by day. And while that can be very, very hard, this is one of the strongest ways to build trust, and your audience feels it. So let me pause here and ask you, what's one habit loop that you already have that might be working against you? Maybe it's picking up your phone first thing in the morning. Maybe it's defaulting to email before creating content. Just notice it, be aware of it. Awareness is the first step to redesigning it. And think about that one thing, write it down and really dive in and look at it. Is it helping you? Is it hurting you? What is the habit loop that you're thinking on? Now, let's talk about creative output, because as influencers, as coaches, entrepreneurs, creators, content is our currency. And it's the difference between feeling like you're scrambling and feeling like you're in control. And it often comes down to the habits you build around creating. And this is everything right now when it comes to being a coach, a content creator, and an entrepreneur in any business. The content that you create really resonates and it really fuels your audience and your business. And the difference between feeling like you're always scrambling and when you're often in control is really centered around our habits and that ecosystem that we create. So here are 3 micro habits that have changed my business. The coffee plus the Notion loop. Every morning after I pour my coffee, I open Notion and check my content board and I look at everything there. So that's the cue, coffee. The routine is reviewing my content calendar, and the reward is the clarity and calm before the day takes over, planning it out and really having a set path of accomplishments, of wins for that day. Now, it sounds so simple, but it anchors my entire morning. So think about that. What is it that anchors your morning? What is your morning habit loop? The idea capture habit. Inspiration doesn't usually strike when I'm sitting at my desk. It happens in the car line, at the grocery store, in the middle of the day when you're taking your kids to activities. So I keep notes on just inspirational ideas that pop up on my phone. The cue is the spark of the idea. The routine is writing it down immediately. And the reward is not losing the inspiration. So that way, when I'm at home, I can sit down and I can pull up the idea boxes that I've had and really start to implement those and start to build content in my business. Now, this is one habit that's saved me hours of staring at a blank screen later, or what we like to identify as writer's block. Now, the Monday batching sprint, every Monday morning, I set aside 90 minutes to 2 hours to script out or outline at least 2 to 5 pieces of content for the week that I'm going to build. Like when I build my YouTube channel, I build my podcast, I build my blog. And the cue here is the calendar block. The routine is focused content creation, and the reward is knowing the rest of the week doesn't feel like a scramble. And here's a bonus habit. I use Canva templates for thumbnails, graphics, and pins. That way, the cue, I need a graphic, quickly leads to a routine of swapping text and images, and the reward is not having design overwhelm. So if you're thinking right now, I need a better way to plan and stay consistent, that's exactly why I created the Influencer Kickstarter Kit. It's a freebie, it's simple, it's the exact system I use to map my content across platforms. Linking is waiting for you to connect those dots and build those habit loops. So if you're interested, again, the link is waiting for you in the show notes or the description below. Now, micro habits that can center and shape audience engagement. Content is half of the equation. Influence is built when people feel connected to you, and that's where audience engagement habits come in. So here's the loop I rely on for my audience engagement habits. So here are the 3 ones that are kind of in my play. The 15-minute reply ritual, which has not been 15 minutes, it's been much longer. However, every day after lunch, I spend anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour responding to comments, DMs, emails. The cue is finishing lunch, the routine is engage, and the reward is connection. And let me tell you, people are shocked when I reply. That's one loop I have built that has gained more trust than any video that I've ever produced, where just having the conversations with your audience, replying to them, engaging with them, really builds strength inside your community. Now, share a quick win. Anytime a client, a community member has a breakthrough, I like to capture it, jot it down, whatever it takes. The cue is the message. The routine is sharing it in my email list, sharing it online. And the reward is I get to celebrate them and see others see what's possible that is out there. And then closing loops. So if I start a conversation, whether the conversation is through emails, it's through DMs, I make it a habit to follow up a few days later. And that cue is seeing their name, the routine is sending a check-in, and the reward is deepening the relationship and closing the conversation. So that way you know what is great, what isn't great. So closing loops work really well when you're doing sales, because sometimes someone may not be ready to work with you at that point in time, but it doesn't mean that they won't want to work with you later down the line. And how they offboard, how you close that conversation is going to be everything, because that's the last impression that they have of you. Now, these don't take hours, they take minutes, they take planning, but stacked week over week, month over month, they create a culture of connection and a strong habit connection with your audience. Now, if your platform is YouTube and there's community out there, there's great ways to do that. And, kind of using that spark inside my YouTube Launch and Growth Blueprint will help you design content that doesn't just get views, but it builds an audience that feels connected to you. And you'll find that down there in the show notes below. But let's talk about frameworks for high performance routine. Let's zoom out. How do these micro habits add up over time? High performance research shows that routines don't just shape behavior, they shape identity. And every habit loop that you create, you repeat, is like casting a vote for the kind of person who you are. And when we talk about this, I actually talk a lot about this in my YouTube video on my site, where it's how to change your life in 1 month. And kind of here's the framework I like to use: trigger, action, identity. Triggers are coffee in the morning, actions again, check Notion, identity. I am someone who runs a content business with clarity. So let's think about that. Understanding your identity really connects you to your frameworks, to your high performance routines of It shows out in every way. When you frame it that way, every loop reinforces a bigger story of who you are. And the beauty of this is you don't need to overhaul your life. Start with one creative loop and one engagement loop. Master those and then stack new loops on as you go. And that's how you build a lifestyle of influence, not an override like burnout sprint. And think about this. So like one thing that I talk about a lot is those small habits, even though they might seem small steps, they really add up to larger goals. And having the right habits for your business, having the right frameworks for your business is hugely important, because this is what's going to help you grow and scale. This is how you build businesses, and this is how your frameworks lead to success long-term down the road. And where you are today by implementing frameworks may not be where you are down the line. You may be further ahead from where your starting point was. And that's where we all start. And that's a really great thing. So advanced habit strategies for creators. So now let's get practical with some of these advanced strategies. I love habit stacking, to tie a new habit to an old one and really build upon it. For example, every time I finish recording a YouTube video, I really immediately upload it to my content library in Motion. And I really like that process and that routine because it really gives me that time. And so the cue is finishing the task, the routine is organizing it, getting it ready for editing, getting it ready for the video editing team that I have. And then, the reward is that it's grateful, but it's also organized, it's planned out, and I feel good about it. So environmental, if you want to create more, designing your space for it. So I keep my podcast mic in a certain section. I keep my video stuff in a section, but having all of that designed out where I can see it in a planned space, where my office is very relaxing and it is very ready to record on demand, is, this is something where I'm plugged and ready, and it's the cue of seeing it reminds me to record and to be ready. And with the space being very clutter-free, it creates a really good environment design. Now, accountability loops are really impactful, and it is an advanced strategy, and it doesn't have to be something, that is an overly large accountability loop. Inviting others into your habits and having an accountability partner is really effective. And it doesn't mean that, that person needs to call you. You can do texting. So every Friday, I text out, what my weekly wins are. Did I meet the goals that I wanted to meet? And was I successful of where I planned my week out to be? And, the cue is every Friday morning or Friday evening. The routine is the reflection, and the reward is the accountability and the encouragement. But the accountability, just having someone there and them not having to say anything, really brings that home, and it really holds those habit loops, because I have to answer to someone if I met those goals or I didn't. And then, if you're thinking, I need help designing habits that stick. I need help that design frameworks, and I want to have frameworks that really help me achieve success and move things forward. Please feel free to hop on my wait list, the Inside the Influence, and that link is also in the show notes below. So putting all of this together, let's pull all of it in. Habit loops drive influence because they take the motivation and they put it inside that equation, and you don't have to wake up inspired every day. But if you have systems, you have frameworks that are in place that are going to help you default on a routine when you wake up and you're not having the best day, because we've all been there and we all have it. These are designed to help you feel authentic, understand your day, make it a natural cue, having those small wins linked together and make them repeatable. And having that where it goes into more of an autopilot really helps you build loops that compound into influence, income, and impact, as well as creating and defaulting on routine frameworks, helping you and your business become more successful. All right. So that's it for this week's episode, or today's episode. And between now and next week, you are more than welcome to check out my site, jenniferfellin.com, where I host a tremendous amount of blog articles, content. I host my podcast. I have my most updated YouTube episode on there. And, here's your action step for the week. Pick one micro habit loop to test this week. Maybe it's a creative loop, maybe it's batching, maybe it's engagement, but try it out, tweak it, and see how it changes your flow. And please remember to subscribe so that way as I release any type of new podcast episode, you're updated and you're able to listen in. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep building influence that matters. And remember, it's not about doing more. It's about what matters most and making sure that you have a really good voice out there and that you deliver really great content that inspires and helps you move your business forward. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.